Fellas, we are in business. It records fine and works well-ish enough. This might actually be easier than recording audio with Craig. That little son of a bitch has helped us for years. Now we just
throw him on the street. Everybody's got to retire sometime. Everybody's got to, cash in their 401k and get the fuck out. It's just a matter of when,
I don't think Craig has much of an RSP matching program, though. If I had to guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess something very similar.
What kind of bombs are those on your glasses?
Serious Sam. 100 years ago, during an E3 visit, I went to their trailer at the Devolver Digital trailer assemblage, and they procured me these in exchange for sitting through a hands-off demo, which was all of them. This must have been, I think it was 2019 when they were all doing hands-off. Or was it 20? I cannot remember. One of those years they were just like, here's a bunch of swag in exchange for never touching a controller. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah. I love the Devolver thing. They always had good-ass food and Airstream trailers that were mercifully cold.
Oh shit! Yeah, no, they put in the work.
You'd always strolled down the street from the LA Convention Center past 50 to 60 street vendors all cooking the exact same thing, and by the time you're halfway through that crowd, you're very hungry, and then you get to Devolver and slap together some tacos or.
Yeah, tacos or hot dogs.
Talk dogs.
Hot dogs. Oh man, that.
I'd try
almost
it.
Certainly. It almost certainly exists. I would eat it.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. What's a tortilla but a flat hot dog bun, really?
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm zoning out for a second because I'm picturing how to put this thing together. You've lit a fire in my brain, Paul, with this talk dog. All right.
You thinking like taco ingredients or more?
Yeah,
hot dog
taco ingredients, grilled hot dog taco ingredients, and then like drizzled with your shit on top, and like a little crunch, maybe a double layer, maybe a like a Taco Bell style thing with a soft and a hard inside. So you get fuck, I should write this down. It's cool. We're gonna get a video. I'm gonna make this sort of dinner that would make poets weep, and then that'll be that.
Let's get it on the YouTube, man. That's the kind of thing that's gonna get hits.
Talk dog.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right. Hey, fuck yeah, man. Whatever you got to do. No, that works. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so apologies for the hold up. Fuck. It's taking forever. I'm sorry, but I'm good to go now.
You're kind of the only one with like a place to be at some point. We're we're
true,
okay.
Yeah. Shouldn't be. I think this one's gonna be less spicy than y'all are anticipating. I think that we're gonna be pretty agreeable on a lot of this.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
A lot of this is what's concerning me because I know there's at least
we don't
point
have to
that we will absolutely not agree on.
get the horns. For too many entries, one or two, we're gonna have to
Duke it out.
fight in the alley. Yeah, is what I was saying. All right.
Appreciate
do you
that.
want bot?
I think you guys, I feel like if I feel like if Days Gone came up this year, y'all wouldn't have been so kind in throwing me that number 10 bone last year.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Definitely not ahead of Bloodstained. That's a mistake we can't undo. We can't unmake it.
Nah, I don't think that's a mistake. I still don't. But
I know you don't.
I also think if Days Gone came out like next year for the PS5 for the Series X, I think that it would be in everybody's top 10. No question.
I will say it's a hell of a
buggy.
lot better in 60 frames.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I was gonna say like it was buggy. It wasn't no Cyberpunk. Certainly wasn't no Cyberpunk.
Zing!
That game has set a new standard for console launches.
Yeah.
they have changed the watermark. You know, it's actually down here, way
Crazy,
down,
man.
below where the camera goes.
It's down there where you store your bongs.
Yeah,
That's-
Under the desk.
yeah.
the bong isn't under the desk; it's over on the other side.
Okay.
Of the desk.
It's everywhere.
Okay,
It's nowhere.
now that the bong topography geography is in place, now that we've established that, let's proceed with our toppest 10 of the games of the years.
Yeah. Let's do that. Because this is
fucking
Press X the podcast. And we have video. You can see us.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
I can
hot.
see you guys. You can see me.
Oh,
People can see us.
it's goddamn revolutionary.
I can't stop looking at your glasses, James, but
I know.
I
I may
know,
have to take
yeah.
them off at some point so they don't completely derail the conversation.
Man,
Your
those are
arguments-
actually fire. Is it difficult to see through them?
Not particularly.
Yeah, no. Nice.
There's a
I bet
grid.
it's-
There's a mesh.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like your nose. You just don't see it after a while.
it's like you're in
Right.
Tron, you know?
Yeah.
You're looking through
It's
the
crazy.
grid.
Like they don't even look real. They look like they're.
Yeah,
Man,
like
they make you look
digitally
like a
Like it's-
cartoon almost. Yeah, it's
like it's
crazy.
an Instagram
we don't have
filter.
that kind of budget, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I
One
just
day,
put
one
these
day.
on my face. There's no overlay.
Anyways, this is the podcast and the video podcast where we decide on the 10, well, let's say our 10 favorite games of the year. Because I think best is a little more objective than we're trying to be around here. Kind of get some subjectiveness in there. So, yeah, our 10 favorite games of the year. And the way we do this is we open it up to a team vote to get a general idea of what the top games of the year are. And then we go jury style. And the three of us decide what the 10 are based on the group that the larger group came together with. That's the exact same way that, you know, for example, BAFTA does things. They get the general pool of nominees, and then a group of expert jurors decide. And that's us.
Well,
We're the experts.
Well, as long as BAFTA does it that way, then I guess we can too.
Mhm.
Hey, they seem like a pretty legit organization.
They do.
Something like that. Yeah. So James
So
is
let's
yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
let's start with number 10, work our way up, see where we stand. We have a rough list here of about 18 entries, so we're gonna have to do a little trimming, a little slimming down, but we'll get there.
I will say there is quite a gap. Like the top 6 games all have more than 175 points, and then there's about 100-point gap between 6 and 7.
Damn.
So
But
everybody
that
do
doesn't
what they
mean
want
anything.
best.
That doesn't mean anything. We can put
Yeah.
whatever we want at the top.
They weren't sure what they like least. All right. So I submit that number 10 should probably be. You know, that's an amazingly good question. Because there's a lot of stuff that, like, feels like it could be the bottom of the list. Like,
Well, why don't we do it this way, James? Why don't you give us something that you think needs to be on the list? And we can
sure.
argue about the order later.
sure.
I like it.
I think for sure we got to have Ghost of Tsushima. That's got to be on the list.
Oh, yeah.
That's
That's
not that's
Yeah,
Hands
non-negotiable.
down.
definitely. I have that one ranked very highly.
Very high. Very high.
Very high indeed. Yeah, no argument for me. Yeah, I think that one's in the mix somewhere. Let's go ahead and just update this as we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Should we get one from all three of us?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do that.
Go around the table.
Okay.
Rhett, what do you want?
So I think, and again, I mean, if we're going in like any order, I mean, I might as well just get it out of the way. I know this is gonna be strange coming from me, but Last of Us 2 obviously needs to be on the list.
Yeah. just because you hate it doesn't mean that it
Exactly.
wasn't.
No, it's if I was to say that's not a top 10 game, like honestly top 10 of all time even, that's just bad journalism. I know I make fun of it, I joke, but let's be real.
Wow. I'm shocked,
Well,
honestly.
Again,
But
and I was saying it from the first time we talked about it was that yes, I don't like the story, but gameplay, man, it doesn't get better than that. It's fucking incredible.
nailed it. I think that Half-Life Alyx needs to be on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I got that on here too, for sure.
Let's just keep going around until we get
All right.
get a 10.
Let's do Hades. Hades has got to be on there.
Yep.
Agree.
I'm gonna go with. Well, this one may be debatable, but Animal Crossing: New Horizons. I think that might make the that might be a number 10 spot game.
I can
I
see
would
that as a
personally put
10.
it higher, but
Okay. I'm gonna say Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh yeah, easy.
and now we get into it a little bit.
Time to get scrappy.
Time to get scrappy. We got Final Fantasy, got The Last of Us, got Ghost, we got Hades. I think because now we're getting into like heavy into sequels and remakes territory, and I personally, as a rule, not as into those for like top 10 stuff, where it's just like, oh, okay, I mean that's cool, but like,
I remember you feeling that way about RE2 last year being on the list.
yeah, it's remakes are great, but I personally feel that a lot of the like capital and credit that the title in question amasses is due to the fact that people have fond memories of it. Although Astro's Playroom did a whole lot of new shit with not a lot of time, was better than it had any right to be. If nothing else, possibly the greatest tech demo ever assembled by a studio. Just like absolutely top tier tech demo, which also happens to be a video game because there's progression and there's collectibles and there's stages, and you can do stages and like break world speed records completing them, which a lot of people find extremely satisfying. Yeah, so that's going to go on there somewhere.
Astro's Playroom. Stick it on there. Brett, what do you got?
I guess it's too good to pass up based on James's comments there. So it may not make the top 10, but I've got to throw the Resident Evil 3 remake in there. I think that going all the way back to our conversation about it when it released, Paul, you were saying that, RE3, the remake, is every bit that RE2 was and more. They had to cut some content. I don't know. Did they ever explain why they had to cut the clock tower section from the remake? I don't think
They never did.
But, I mean, it is what it is. What is there is really, really well done. Like those are brand new games. I wouldn't even call them remakes. They're brand new games. So I really like that RE3 this year.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before, but I think there's a big difference between a remake and a remaster. Like I would call Demon's Souls a remaster. But RE2, Final Fantasy VII, those are remakes. They're new games with the same story content or similar story content.
Yeah. Demon's Souls, I don't even want on the list because as pretty as it looks and as cool as it is that it's a PS5 only game, all of the frustrating, insufferable, ancient, obtuse mechanics that came with the first one are there. And those appeal to nobody but the hardest of hardcore Dark Souls fans. And like, I was like on the fence about even trying that game, but I watched one video or one person was like, hey, here's some of the things you have to encounter and deal with. And I'm like, wow, holy fuck, no, absolutely not. I just noped out of there like as hard as I possibly could. The idea that like you die once and your health bar is in half until you defeat the next boss. I'm like, how about you go aggressively fuck yourself, Demon Souls? What do you say to that?
So true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on that game. But I guess I need to pick another one that goes on the list.
So Demon Souls on the list. Okay.
Did we skip Paul there though?
No, Paul, what you got? Paul for Resident Evil. He did Resident Evil 3. What you got next?
No, Rhett did Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
I do think that Spider-Man needs to be on the list.
Yeah, Miles for sure.
Okay.
So gorgeous, my goodness. I cannot wait till I actually get to see that game in person.
Now that they have a 60 frames per second mode with ray tracing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Which is like that's how you do it. That's how you make it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Insomniac. They know how to do it.
They did.
All right, James.
Okay. So I've got maybe like I don't know. I'm stuck on this one because Doom Eternal is a great game.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't have a lot of like data on it, I guess is what I'm saying. Like I know it's great. It's more Doom, it's more good Doom. I've heard some takes about like the overly complicated controls and the platforming sections, which I feel like we as a society should have moved past when playing in first person 3D. Like I feel like that is something that we should have like changed collectively, along with like access to clean drinking water, shelter, and healthcare. Like 3D first person platforming should have been like just
I don't understand.
Right off the fucking table.
What did you hear about it? The platforming in Doom was amazing. It was one of the best parts of the game. Some of the sections where you were hopping from wall to wall and climbing, and man, it was a good time. It was like fucking Assassin's Creed Doom almost at times.
It was definitely challenging.
It was challenging,
but I never found that it was frustratingly challenging. You just had to figure out what to do and then execute. It's like a regular 3D platforming experience. Just you have to assume where your feet would be.
Yeah,
which I get.
There were a lot of times where you're clinging to a wall and you're looking around to see where the next platform is. I found myself doing that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So see, this is more of a personal gripe.
Yeah.
Right? Like I understand that I'm not siding with the history textbooks on this one. I feel like people will be like, well, look at this crazy fucker getting on his soapbox about 3D first person platforming. But I don't feel like that needs to be a part of the conversation anymore.
Look at those glasses he's wearing.
It's bad, man.
But, okay, fair. But like, given that my gripes about it are essentially hypothetical, it might as well be on the list.
Yeah. I think it deserves to be on there. That was a great game.
James, your video has frozen at a hilarious point for me.
Oh, wow.
You're just gesturing with those ridiculous glasses. Nice.
Well, I know how to make a statement. Sometimes the statement is confusing and loud. But there we are.
I'm going to take this still and I'm going to make it your new headshot on the site, I think. Woo! Okay, let's finish one more round. Then we've got 12 games that we can argue about for the 10.
Okay. I've got 2 that I really think should be on the list though. So I'll just do both of them real quick. One
All right.
is the new Ori.
Okay.
New
Okay.
Ori, yeah, looking great, beautiful. People fucking love it. They say it's everything that the first one was and more. And then the next one, I really strongly believe it should be, maybe even a top 5, is this Microsoft Flight Simulator. That thing has been
Interesting.
blowing up, and it's done something that people have been waiting for a game to do forever. Really, you can, fly the world, explore the world. I mean, explore the world. That's maybe not the best, term to use, but the fact that they use like real time geography and weather and et cetera, man, that's a new generation of gaming for flight sim fans.
It is. It's pretty cool. True shame that it hasn't come to Xbox yet. It just keeps getting pushed back. Now it's summer next year. That's too bad.
Yeah, but like, yeah, you gotta think that they want this thing to look as hot to death as it does on PC, and they're not gonna like even put it in like early access or whatever until people get that experience. Because as we've learned, it's better to be delayed than delisted. Right?
So you're saying they don't want to cyberpunk it?
No.
I'm done
fact,
being cyberpunked, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cyberpunked. To be cyberpunked is a new verb. All right.
Mhm.
Something that happens to a person or a nation or a society, or a platform, and I think they will make the history books in a way that they perhaps did not want.
I think you're right. Okay. I also have 2 things that I think should be in consideration for the list.
Yeah.
One is Kentucky Route Zero,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
and the other is Dreams,
Mm.
which I think we've
Yep.
kind of forgotten about as a society, but it is a remarkable thing.
Yeah, I was reading Alex Everest's comments about them, or about Dreams, in the chat, and how he was really disappointed with it because he thought it was going to be more so like what was the game that he used as an example? I think like Little Big Planet or something, where it was just like really like you could create these intricate worlds, but it really didn't take much of a learning curve to do so. Thought it was just going to be like really basic mechanics, and you could do
Yeah.
a lot with them. But the fact of the matter is, like, man, it's a tool that you need to learn. You need to study. You need to practice with it. It will take hundreds of hours to master and get good. I'm sure you could apply the 10,000 rule to Dream. So the 10,000 hour rule. Yeah, it's tough to get going. I've certainly like fallen off with it. I kind of hit a wall, and I was just like, man, I don't have time to fucking really study this. But yeah, like it's incredible.
It kind of seems like what we're debating on including is less a game and more of a very robust programming suite. Like,
I mean, that's fair, but then that's only half of the game as well. The other half of the game is an endless stream of, user created content to play, and developer created content for that matter. But, if you don't want to even touch the developing side of the thing, you can still get hundreds of hours out of it.
That's true.
And disclaimer there, though, is, of course, a lot of the stuff is crap. Don't get me wrong, but I'm still waiting for like a year or two to pass when we start to see like everybody is comfortable with the tools, they're familiar with everything, and we'll start to see a higher level of quality. I think if you guys haven't seen that Avatar game that's been, I think like even before Dreams had actually come out, this guy, he started developing this like Avatar game, and now based off all the hype he's gotten and everything. Other developers have come on, and man, it's actually pretty cool what they're doing.
All of this is kind of, for me, reinforcing the programming suite position that I'm taking. Also, comments like, oh yeah, I can't wait for another year or two until this thing really finds its legs. And I'm like, okay, that to me doesn't feel like a 2020 conversation.
That's fair.
I think
maybe,
it will
maybe
be
2022. This will be the hottest game out there.
yeah, I think this is a product of historical importance. I think what they create and what comes out of it, and the people who get their start in Dreams will probably go on to make like actual games that like break into the market and become big. Like I feel like we're gonna see fully realized individual products that are like, oh yeah, I got my start as a Dreams programmer, and then now I'm making this thing that's like blowing up on like the PlayStation Store or Steam or whatever, and the whole conversation about games and game development will change as a result of this like set of seeds that this company has planted with this product. But I think for now it's more in like the gestation phase, and that in combination with the very widely varied quality levels of what people have produced has kind of messes with that like purist top 10 vibe, right, that we're otherwise going for.
Totally fair. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's still the kind of thing that, like, we're giving it props based on potential.
Yeah.
And yeah, people have made some cool things, but more it's us looking towards the future of, okay, people are making games that run on the Dreams engine, basically, that are totally divorced from Dreams as a product, but just live on their own in the store. That's obviously where this is going eventually.
Right.
Meanwhile, Microsoft Flight Simulator is something that is a culmination of decades of work that people have been looking for, that's going to change the conversation, that is done and ready and out there, and blowing people's minds like right now.
That's fair.
Very fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like we'd leave Dreams out of the 10 for the time being, unless something else gets knocked out.
Right. Let's revisit it next year on our 2021 top 10 of the year. Let's see where it's at then.
Yeah, if it like has gotten bigger or if it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Both.
They did also they just released the VR update for it, so that's pretty cool. Apparently, like, it's much easier now to get in there with the little Move controllers and actually like, sculpt and move, and yeah, apparently it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Yep, sounds like it. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and put a big ol' strike through Dreams because I can.
Okay.
Cool. What else do we think is on the fringe of making it into this top 10? For me, I think Animal Crossing is a very fringe game.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, it could very well be the number 10 spot. And if it doesn't make it, I understand.
I personally think that the impact it had on us, like as a society when it dropped, and like the like longevity of it, is probably worth taking into consideration. Like when it released, it was immediately the only thing people could talk about, and it like ate their lives in a pretty aggressive fashion for several months afterwards, and like people were like hosting fucking talk shows inside of the game, and like people were starting to play video games that didn't play video games before because of Animal Crossing. They're like, oh, well, I guess now I'm a person who does this where I never was in my life up to this
Truly.
point. Like, people I'd
The-
never seen post about games before were like, so fucking Animal Crossing.
right? There were mass shortages of consoles because of this game. And I mean, the pandemic as well. I think not just this game, but I think the vast, vast majority of those people that were buying a Switch at the start of the pandemic, they were getting Animal Crossing.
There's definitely people I would never expect to play video games that are playing the shit out of Animal Crossing. But
Yeah.
I have the same gripe with this version of the game that I've had with every version of Animal Crossing, which is that we've had a hot and heavy relationship for a month, and then I do not ever want to touch it again because I feel like I've just done enough. I don't want to catch any more bugs. I don't want to fish any more garbage out of the ocean. I don't want to look at the shooting stars anymore. And even though they've added things in or had some seasonal events that are pretty cool, like the Easter one was pretty neat, I feel like it's the same game, you know?
Oh yeah. Man, these events, like, they're fun, but they're just rehashes of what they've been doing. Like the summer event was a rehash of the spring event and the fall event. It's all just, you get a special character that appears in the little town, and there's some sort of like contest going on, or there's some sort of list of items you need to build and collect, and then you get a special item on, after like 2 weeks or whatever, when the event is about to end. By far, this like New Horizons is the least content rich out of all of them, I think. There is really nothing to do once you get past like once you like get the first credits, once you beat the game, essentially you pay off your debts and everything, like there's not really anything to do aside from collect more items. And then the issue with that is that the storage is pretty limited. It wasn't long before my house, I think like 1,800 items or something like that is the limit on once you have your house fully upgraded. Then I had that maxed out quickly, and then I was creating alternate accounts so I could build other houses just to store extra shit. Like, it seemed like such a, I don't know. I loved it at first, and the more it went on, I was just like, man, there's just so many opportunities that were missed here.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's really charming, and I think it's really well written. A lot of the stuff is super funny, but I think you're right, Rhett, that the content is quite limited. It wasn't that long before I started getting duplicate island characters. People who were moving into the island. It's like, this is the same character archetype, except they've got a different catchphrase.
Yeah, that was a big problem I had with it. All the islanders, all the villagers, it really felt like they were saying the same thing over and over and over. I know there's lots of different personality types and everything, but the majority of people that I was seeing, man, they all work out or they all like snacks. Yeah. Yeah.
James, what do you got to say to that?
A counterpoint would be that, like, what you've described is a game that you can reliably play and enjoy for 30 or 40 solid days, which is, by my count, more content than like most other games that came out this year could like reliably deliver. Like, everybody has the same experience where they're like, this rips ass for like a month, and it's just like, okay, that's a pretty good run.
Yeah.
But I mean, there does seem to be a sort of natural stopping point for most casual Animal Crossing players. Like, all right, this is a great game to fucking eat my life for 30 to 35 days. And I'm like, if you go back in after that, it's like, well, just because you don't quite want to quit yet or whatever. But like, it seems like there's like an official, like, well, basically what I'm saying is that, well, it seems like the game doesn't end. It really does. And everybody kind of comes to that same natural stopping point at around the same time frame, because like I was the same way. I was just like, 30, 35 days, 40 days. I was like, I've pretty much seen all I want to see. If I keep going back in, I'm just like, killing time, or I'm like, listening to a podcast or something, and I'm like, maybe I'll just chop some trees down and like build some furniture while I like listen to world events or history or like true crime or some shit, Um, it seems like it has a natural like life cycle that while you're going through it, it's like a compelling, fascinating, charming, well written, well crafted game. And then once that's done, you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm done playing Animal Crossing.
But here's the thing: during that like 30 or 35 days, I'm not convinced I was having fun and not just doing it because it had built an obsession. It's the same kind of idea as a mobile game where, you're a slave to the timer and you got to come back and push the button. You got to come back to Animal Crossing because, the bugs are only available this time of day and you can only catch this fish every once a month or whatever the fuck bullshit they've come up with. And I'm not convinced that I was actually having a good time with that versus it activating the completionist in my brain.
Yeah.
To their credit, they do so. They make use of those sort of like mobile game mechanics without any like purchasing impetus. You're never like, oh, if only I could spend some more money, this would be easier. It's more like, nah, it's just time.
Yeah.
There's no like, there's not like, oh, there's not like whales out there who are just gonna blow $1,000 on Animal Crossing coins just so they can fucking shortcut the experience. They're like, nah, man, you can just play it with time travel, and then like, it's fine. Although I think they've like implemented actual stealth mechanics to limit how much of that you can do, because they recognize it as something that like people get into.
Yeah, there's always been things that they've done, like if you go forward or back, they'll spoil fruits, vegetables, whatever. I know with this one, obviously, they started to implement like actual seasonal content. So even if when the game came out in March, if you were to jump ahead to December, you wouldn't get any of those like winter themed events that they do or that they have going on now. So smart of them to do that for sure. A little bit of controversy at the start as well with the like save file transfer or the save file backup system. They went through, there was a couple months there where people were like, what the fuck is going on here? We're paying for this like shitty Nintendo online service, and the one game that we would actually want to make sure we have our files backed up on, we can't do it. So they, of course, reneged on that and flipped that decision. And it took them so long to roll that out. I definitely knew a couple people that had lost their islands. Their files were corrupted one way or another, in the time that they took to get that save backup system going. So all in all, though, I agree with James in that, man, 30 to 40, 45 days, like that's a really good time to spend with a game. Like I look at my time played, I'm at 300 hours. How can I be mad at that? 300 hours is more than I'll play on mostly everything. So yeah, I feel like it's got to be on there. Just for the impact it had this year. Number 10, it's got to be on there.
Yeah, I'm okay with it being a conditional number 10, and if the rest of the list like absolutely has to bump it off, that's fine. But I think it definitely has to be considered just for how much of a effect it had on people, how many people's lives and sanities it saved, how many people it turned into gamers.
I think it should be on the list as well, but I think it's on the list because of when it came out. Had this come out in a non-2020 year, the Animal Crossing fans would have liked it, and it would have been out the door in a month, not in the public consciousness for as long as it has been, just because of the year. But
yeah,
I think that's the condition.
Yeah,
only in 2020.
Yeah, I think the conditions are right,
100%.
even without the pandemic, for people to like create high-powered fandoms and like establish a solid, long-lasting community around a title like this. Anyways, but yeah, the size of the impact is definitely impacted by the fact that it came out when everybody was literally stuck inside on pain of death.
Pain of
All right.
death.
Pain of death. So, what else do we think? Maybe he doesn't need to be on the list.
I would argue maybe it's RE3.
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at too.
Yeah. You made the
100%.
pitch, and now we're already like, I don't know, guy.
Yeah, no,
It's a great
100%.
game.
That's, man, you look
Yeah,
at my list. I have RE3 question mark. I really didn't know if it was gonna make it. I figured I'd throw it in there, especially with RE2 getting on there last year. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. I don't know if it'll make it.
Okay, so RE3 goes down to last place.
I think we can agree that the ones we have in the top 5 right now are locks for one, and probably the top 5. That being Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us 2, Half-Life Alyx, Hades, Final Fantasy Remake.
Yeah.
Order
I
is
personally
up for
feel-
grabs, but I think those 5 are probably the top 5.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I might swap Half-Life and Hades. So like Hades is above, but like that's kind of like the only change I'd made. Final Fantasy VII Remake is amazing, but it ain't number 1.
Yeah.
Just isn't.
Yeah.
That was a real like fire and forget experience, Final Fantasy VII, where it was like completely dominated my life for a good 7 to 10 days, and then it was finished. It was like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna play this again.
I'm kind of in the same boat, but thinking back to my time with that game, it's probably in the top 1 or 2 I'm having fun doing this gaming experiences this year.
Yeah.
Because the story was a good ride, because they changed it up just enough, because they used the old music in a new way, in so many different ways. The combat was great.
The combat they've been like, that's a formula they've been slowly perfecting for well over a decade.
Yep.
Probably 15 years. They've been figuring out how to make modern Final Fantasy combat, and it's only gotten tighter with every new entry in the franchise they've released. To the point where like, oh, every battle can be exciting, and boss battles will probably put you on your ass at least a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And the other thing about that one is I think they handled all the weird shit from the original game in mostly the best possible way. Like they turned Don Corneo into this absolute caricature, and with some amazing voice acting. And all the things around the wall market were really well handled.
I think so.
They could have fucked that up so bad.
Oh yes, they could have. They could have put their foot directly in their mouths, but they did not.
Thank God. But yeah. So,
okay.
What else is kicking around the bottom of the list? I really believe that Kentucky Route Zero should be on the list. Because looking at the whole thing, there's not a whole lot of indie content. We got a lot of AAA
Kentucky Route Zero
shit.
is another one of those like culminations of like a crazy years-long project that like just came to a perfect head in 2020, and it was just like everything you were hoping it would be and more. Just the kind of story that like you don't really forget once you've heard it, kind of thing that you'll be thinking about for a long time after, that sort of thing.
I think it's like the best one of those that's ever been made. You know what I mean? And it's just this ride of, you're just watching a story for more or less. It's a visual novel, basically. There's some tiny mechanical stuff that you do, but for the most part, it's just this tremendously paced, very well written story.
Are you making choices?
You do make choices, and it does actually shift the story quite substantially. But like from a mechanical standpoint, there's not a lot there. You move your character around, and that's about it.
I would swap that and Ori 2 in the positions on the list. I think Kentucky Route Zero and Ori 2 can change places. Put it in at least in number 10, right? And then kick out Ori 2. I say specifically because Ori 2 was amazing, but a lot of the stuff that made it really great was also in Ori 1. And there was just like little mechanical things that they changed. It was like, okay, now the saving system is better. And it's not like tied to a resource. It was like, oh, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And like, there's a couple of new moves and it's way bigger. But like a lot of the like crazy tight controls and the mechanics and the challenge level and the like the powerful story and stuff like that, that's all artifacts carried over from the first one. So it's like a really great gameplay experience and like a really awesome sequel for anybody who's like really invested in the first one. Don't think it necessarily belongs in the top 10.
Yeah, above
it's definitely
something
people were talking about.
Fair. That's fair.
I don't know that I agree that perfection of a formula that they'd already started to do discounts it from being one of our favorite games of the year.
I just remember when I played it, because I'd never played the first one. And I was like, well, this is really awesome. Oh, that was in the first one. This is awesome. That was in the first one. This is really cool. That was in the first one. That was like my whole experience where I would talk to people about it and be like, oh yeah, that thing you love that you thought really stood out. Yeah, that was also from the first game. It's like, oh.
Well, I mean, it's a cool, Metroid game though. Everything about every Metroid game is in every other game.
Yeah, kinda, but like at the same time, I'm talking like very specific moves that directly transplanted from one entry to the other. Like a Metroidvania is a Metroidvania, no matter the stripes or spots you drape upon it. But like, the dash strike and stuff like that. That was like, here's this thing that they teach you how to do that they work beautifully into the level design, and like the way they teach you how to make the move is very organic and there's no like tutorials or anything. You just figure it out based on the level design, and that exact sequence of events played out in a slightly different fashion in the first game, and I'm like, oh, that slightly deflates my estimation of it.
You got a good point. It's a really good point. Oh my God, there are your eyes.
Yeah, look, I'm a human being, not a set of explosive devices rendered in cartoon form. I just felt that if we did so about halfway through our discussion, that would really add a little drama that genuinely didn't need to be there.
I also like that when we were talking about Animal Crossing and kind of giving it the gears, the sweater came off to just give us the gun show.
Yeah.
Just to...
Yeah.
So...
just... I had a tank top summer that I didn't want to end, so I carried it all the way to December.
No, it's good steez. Good steez.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I can live with Ori 2 not being on the list.
Yeah.
But I will say that I recently went back and played that thing on the Series X, and holy shit, is it sharp. Because I don't have 120 hertz 4K display. Those don't exist, like, basically. So what it does instead is it renders at 6K and then downscales to 4K. So those little sprites are sharp as fuck.
Shit.
It's crazy good looking.
Shit.
Yeah,
also masterful score.
Yeah.
The music is beautiful. Pretty much everything Gareth Coker does is really good, but it's very, very good in Ori. Yeah. Rhett, you brought up Flight Simulator, and now on this little list, it's sitting at number 12.
12, man. That game's got to be on the list.
Okay, but what's it kicking off? That's the big question,
that's the
because
real
that's what we got to
toughie.
do now.
So what's on the list right now? What's like 8, 9, 10?
8,
Doom
9, 10
Eternal,
is
Animal Crossing, Kentucky Route Zero. 7 Spider-Man, 6 is
I mean, I
Astro's
never-
Playroom.
Yeah, like if you want to talk about a revolutionary game, though, like it's more important than any of those games you've listed. The scale is unlike anything you've ever seen before in gaming, and it like has
Not
completely
true.
redefined these. What game? What game is
The last
It's like
Microsoft
this.
Flight Simulator.
the last one? You could really? They had the whole world in there?
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
It
good
just
for them.
looks better now, and they use map data, which is a very impressive technical achievement, and it looks amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really amazing game to a very small subset of players.
Yeah.
There's like
Fair.
there's like a very dedicated fan base, not a large one.
Most of whom are
Yeah.
temporarily laid off pilots,
Yeah.
you know, practicing up and
context-
going through their
For
manuals.
context, have any of us actually played it?
I've played it.
No.
Okay. So that's 1 out of 3. That's not bad.
And how was it, Paul?
It looks really nice. If you can
Yeah.
run it,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have the worst computer in the world. It's a 2070 Super, and it barely runs at 1080p.
Mm.
It, it is heavy. Mostly on the CPU side, I guess, but yeah, if you want to fly a plane, you can fly a plane. There are a few planes. There were planes that I wanted to fly that were not there. And the graphical quality is not consistent. So we live in
Oh, yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
And if you take off from Vancouver, it looks okay. It looks like a Google Maps kind of
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then you take off from like Los Angeles or San Francisco or London or New York. Those cities look really, really good, but it's not consistent across the board.
Mhm.
And that's
That's
just
what they were
because
saying,
of the
though.
map data.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing looking game and amazingly complicated if you want it to be so. But I don't know that it's fun.
Mm. Fair enough. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I took off, I put the flaps up, put the wheels up, and flew around and looked down on the city and went, oh, that's generally where I live. And then I landed, and then I shut down the game and I never played it again. You know, that's kind of how it went.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an indictment. That's what that is.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know, I turned on a thunderstorm, I turned on a snowstorm while I was flying around, and that was cool. But I didn't
Mhm.
really want to fly around in a thunderstorm.
Mm. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, would have loved to have played it. Obviously, my computer that can't record audio and video at the same time wouldn't have been able to play Microsoft Flight Simulator. But yeah, I take your word for it.
You might have been able to
Take
play it
word
at
for
like 96p.
Yeah.
Then it would have just looked like the older Flight Simulator. There'd be no point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to like dunk on it too much because it is an amazing achievement for those people.
Yeah,
But-
it's just not necessarily.
But for
all that
video
fun.
game players, there's not a whole lot of reason to do it. You know, there are
Right.
activities to do. Like, here, you land this Airbus on this tiny island. And yeah, you can do that if you know how to fly an Airbus, but I don't know how to fly an Airbus. I don't know. It was fine.
Yeah. Okay. Not top 10. All right.
Yeah, not top 10. Yeah.
I feel like the point has been made.
Yeah.
pretty succinctly. Okay. So
Have any of you played Immortals Phoenix Rising?
No.
I feel like that game's generating some heat, but
Yeah, I thought everyone said
nobody
it was garbage. didn't
mentioned
they?
it. Say what?
I thought people were hating it.
okay, well, it's an Ubisoft game that runs pretty well right off the gate, which is impressive for Ubisoft. Like, it's not a buggy goddamned mess, which is amazing for them. And it uses like the same font for a lot of really important shit as Genshin Impact, which is weird. um and it's basically Breath of the Wild without weapon degradation, which for some people is a pretty big deal. That's kind of all I know about it.
Yeah. It's kind of Assassin's Creed. It's the Assassin's Creed engine, so it plays exactly like Valhalla, just it happens to be looking like Breath of the Wild.
Which is really not helping Ubisoft's case that they're basically the Taco Bell of game developers. You know what I'm saying? They have 7 or 8 ingredients that they can use to make 30 different dishes, but that's it. It's the same shit. It's the same lettuce, the same tomatoes, the same cheese. You know, like nobody's.
Are you saying that
horrible diarrhea afterwards?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Immortals Phoenix Rising is the cheesy gordita crunch of gaming?
yes, it is.
Delicious.
It absolutely is.
Well, those are pretty good though. Those are pretty good.
Sure. If you're hungry and it's 1 a.m. and you really want some fucking nasty, delicious food, you go for that. And if you really
they're good then too.
Yeah. If you want an open world game with reliable mechanics from an experienced team, by all means, go to Valhalla, go to Immortals Phoenix Rising. But like, man, it's still Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And that's like all their shit has the same problem.
That's fair. And that's neither here nor there. I was just curious if anybody had actually played it.
Yeah, no,
it's
and I don't.
The
I don't
fact
know
that it's
really
nowhere
need
in
to.
the top 18 games of voting.
Yeah,
you
like
know,
nobody on our team gave it any heat whatsoever.
more people voted for 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim.
Yeah,
wow.
And Immortals Phoenix Rising basically doesn't exist online, and I follow a lot of people who play video games.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I feel like them releasing that and Valhalla really shot themselves in the foot. Like, because like one kind of looks better than the other, and it came out first.
Yeah.
And like they both have very similar problems for people who are critical of Ubisoft games. Like,
yeah,
if you like it, it's great. If you don't, it's the same problem, you know? Like, which is another reason why Valhalla is not on our list, because y'all have fucking played this.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful, and if you like taking pretty pictures of video games, then Valhalla is amazing. And if you're like me, who hasn't played an Assassin's Creed game in 15 years, Valhalla fucking rules. But it's not a top 10 game by any means.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty close to the actual 10 here.
Yeah, I think we are too.
Does anybody have any major problems with the order at this point? Anything that's drastically out of place?
I think Astro's Playroom being the greatest technical demo ever does not necessarily have it in quite the right spot on the top 10.
So you're saying it should go up or down?
Down.
Okay.
Because being the greatest technical demo does not necessarily make it the greatest game. It's a very noteworthy achievement, and the fact that they managed to do what they did with a pack-in game is amazing. And it's like the best like control wise, holy shit, easily in the top 5, right? Like the way it feels when you play it, like it's a snap for like top 5.
It's chef
But
kiss.
yeah, but like content wise, story wise, like all I'm saying is maybe it goes a little further down the list.
Yeah.
like
Yeah. If you told me
like I would even swap Kentucky Route Zero and
I was gonna say,
Astro's
like,
Playroom.
that's what I was just
Astro
gonna
could be
say.
number 10, right? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm
And
cool with
Kentucky
that
Route
swap
Zero,
if you guys want to do that.
yeah, absolutely, easy pick.
I mean, I'll take your guys' word for it that Kentucky should be that high. I haven't played it. It is on my list, but yeah, Astro is at number 10. That makes sense.
Yeah, Astro, Animal Crossing, Doom, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Kentucky Route Zero, Final Fantasy. This looks pretty good. The top 4. Let's look at that because I think Final Fantasy VII is good at 5. Do we want Hades a tiny bit higher?
I mean, I could see us swapping Hades and The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last of Us, what, at 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking Hades top 3. I really am liking that game, man. It's fucking good. And number 2, what do you got at number 2?
Right now, it's The Last of Us.
Yeah, so it would go Ghost, Hades, Half-Life, Last of Us.
Ghost, Hades, Half-Life, Last of Us. Wow, Hades number 2, eh? Damn, that's high. But
I feel pretty good about that.
You know, I know, right? Like I don't have a tough time agreeing to that.
Like for Hades, I wrote a review of it just about 2 months ago, and I'm still playing it. You know, like I'm still playing it. It's still as fun, if not more fun, than when I wrote the review because, you know, I had completed the quote unquote main story in Hades when I wrote the review, but I'm still running into shit. There's still new content, and
nice.
It's an epic amount of content, and it's all fun. It's all good.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm looking at that might be considered above Hades, and I haven't played it, but just from the reviews, Paul, from your review, Half-Life. Like apparently Half-Life is the VR game that people have been waiting for since VR really became like mainstream. Apparently it's you know, it's pushed the medium forward more than anything else has. I really, really, really want to play it. It sounds so cool, and I wish that I did. I wish that I had the opportunity to. But
that to me is like one of the things that makes me comfortable with it being at number 3 because of the fact that like it's this amazing technical achievement that's like changed the fucking changed the game for VR, but like it's still so beefy. Like Paul was running it on like low settings on his like soupy ass 2070 rig. I could not run Half-Life Alyx on my computer. I just can't. And I have like a computer for playing PC games. So like it's one of those things that like everybody who has played it thinks it's amazing, and everybody else is like, that sounds awesome. I wish I could run that. Like that.
Truly.
You know what I mean? Whereas like Hades is basically for everybody. It's on PC and the Switch, and that like any PC can basically run that game. Like it
any PC, and on the flip side of that, I have it on the Switch and it does run flawlessly. It's fucking beautiful, buttery smooth.
Yeah.
And they now have the ability to cross save with the Steam version, which is you know, angels singing from the heavens.
It's enough to make me buy it a second time.
True.
Oh yeah,
you
I
should
just
get it
wanna
on the
play
Switch.
in bed and stuff. You know.
Yeah, I highly recommend it on Switch. I haven't seen any slowdown. The only thing on PC, when you finish a room, do you get that little second of like slow motion? Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah, that's just like
Right? Yeah,
just
exactly.
like
Okay, so that's not the Switch. That's the game. Okay, good. Yeah, so there's no slowdown.
yeah.
No
It's just
slowdown
like
at all.
you finish the room and it's just like boom.
Yeah, you get that
And
little
then it's like
bullet
done. It's
time.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Because that's basically the game being like, okay, all the shit that was killing you a second ago, it's not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, what I will say about Half-Life to make the case for that as a thing that should be high up the list is it finds the balance that no VR game has found before, which is you're always either feeling like you're unnecessarily crammed into this small space with a limited range of things you can do, or people have given you this massive area where there's just not a lot and it's overwhelming in VR. Half-Life is perfectly in the middle where you can't always literally go to the place that you're looking at, but you can look in its direction or you can get close and look over the edge and look at it. And it feels real enough that, like, if I wanted to, I could go over there, but I don't need to. I can go over here. Does that make sense?
yeah,
James, you might feel this from being a guy who's been in VR.
yeah, it's a lot of developers have a hard time with like a sense of scale and like your
Yeah.
person's place in the space they've created. A lot of the times it can just kind of feel like you're just standing in front of a digital green screen
Yeah.
where like shit's happening in the distance, but you're not really interacting with it. There's just like the play space is basically the size of like the area you can like move your controllers around in, but like pretty impressive to be able to make it feel like you're actually in like a space, like something like carved out in design, rather than just like the two sensations of like looking out there and feeling shit here, just like being very separate.
Yeah. And Half-Life does a great job with that. Like, everybody knows Valve knows how to make a fucking video game if and when they decide to make one.
Yeah,
And
whenever they feel
whenever
like
they decide to make one. And that continues
hopping
here.
off the Dragon's Sword.
I think this is the best Half-Life game. I think it's better than Half-Life 2. It's better than the Half-Life 2 episodes. Because the story, when story is happening, it's happening to you. You're in VR, and like you said, James, there is that green screen effect that you can get where things feel like they're happening in your vicinity. But no, Half-Life is immersive enough that the story happens to you. And that's something I hadn't experienced in VR before. And it's combined with excellent VR physics work and combat and exploration and finding things. I do think there are some areas where it's overly streamlined and doesn't need to be that way, but it's for approachability and, you know, to make it as doable for people as possible, because they want to make sure that if you have a VR headset and you play Half-Life Alyx, you can complete it and have a nice time with it. So there are some accommodations there, but man, nothing else even comes close to the level of quality that Half-Life Alyx has, VR-wise.
Right.
Does that mean it's
gotta be
higher
it's
than
gotta
number
be high up
3?
there. Higher than 3, I think, for sure. Hades, number 2. Man, I just have a tough time. I'm like, God damn it! I wish I played Half-Life, because I have a tough time, like, weighing, you know, Half-Life moving the genre forward versus Hades being probably the best
Extremely fun.
roguelike I've ever played. Yeah, like best storytelling in a roguelike. The visuals are absolutely gorgeous. The storytelling is unlike anything in roguelikes that I've seen. Man, that's a good game.
Here's a question. Are we all convinced that Ghost of Tsushima is the best game of the year?
Yeah.
Or our favorite game of the year?
Yeah.
I was
that-
just going to say we should save some space to talk about that, because like like we haven't really talked about it at all so far.
Yeah.
But Ghost of Tsushima, that's a game where you stop playing because you're done. Like otherwise it's just like hours a day every day, like you just can't fucking put it down. And like the gameplay flow from like objective to objective, like all the way the side missions are set up and the way the quest missions are set up, like you never ever have to stop. You never have to slow down. You never have to like return to any sort of home base. You never feel like you're lost. You never feel like you're just wandering aimlessly. It's just like this like non-stop barrage of like crazy fun shit with like a tight, perfectly crafted combat system that makes you feel like an absolute fucking badass basically right from the beginning, and like tough enough that like you're still climbing the steps, so to speak, of like your skills and your opponents. But like that's a game that like I put it down because I was done. I was just done the game. There's nothing else to do. It was never like, oh, I'll get back to that later, or oh, I kind of want to take a break. It was just like, no, it's Ghost time. It's Ghost time until Ghost is finished. And like, I know a lot of people who are like, they don't really platinum games, and they're like, well, of course I did Ghost of Tsushima because like, it's amazing. And like people who are like, well, I'm gonna play it on the hardest difficulty, and like that doesn't even touch the Legends content, which is like has all these like crazy outfits and crazy multiplayer stuff, and like if you don't want to stop fucking around in that world, you truly don't have to. You can just keep at it for as long as you so desire. And like, but like I personally think on the strength of the single player campaign alone, easily hits the number one on my top 10 list. Like not since Breath of the Wild have I had a game where it's just like you think, oh, I'll just do one more thing, and then it's, oh, surprise, it's 2 a.m. and you have to work in 4 hours. But also it's like right there, and I could just like nab that shrine or like take out that like settlement or whatever. It's just like like in terms of like raw design and storytelling and like the graphics, how they're like not technically the best, but they work with what they have in such a fashion that everything is still really, really beautiful and like has an emotional impact to it. Like they use a somewhat limited tool set to create these like scenes and these tableaus where you'll like crest over a ridge or like go walking through a forest, or like and the way they do the navigation system where you're never looking at any sort of mini map. You're just like following the environmental cues given to you by the game and like navigating that way. And like sometimes for half a second you'll like lose the direction of the wind, but then you're like, you have a hunch based on the way the plants and stuff are moving, and then it turns out to be right because that's just how well the fucking game is designed. And Jesus Christ, I could go on.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean,
easy pickings.
It's the best recent example of what the actual difference is between the best technical, good-looking game and the best art design. Like Ghost is not the best looking game of the year, but it is arguably the best art design of the year, and probably in several years, because of how well the world is designed. And like you said, James, you come over this crest and it's this perfect layout every time. Doesn't matter what angle you come over the hill at, it's a perfect scene that you're like, I'm popping open photo mode, I'm adding to my thousands of images that I've already captured of this game, because it looks so good. And the open world design is absolutely masterful, as it does lead you from discovery to discovery without ever telling you. You know, you find this shrine, and then, oh, there's a fox den, and then, well, there's a town down the hill, and it's got some Mongols in it. And you want to do all that shit all the time. And
like the little golden birds, if you're ever like, I'm not sure what to do, a little bird will fly by, like, I'm going to follow that bird. And then bam, you're in the middle of another thing.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say about this, and I know we've talked about it before, is the way this game tutorializes all the way through the game, without ever it being explicit that this is a tutorial section or we're teaching you something about the game going forward from this point. And the moment that comes to mind is when you leave the first section of the island and you've just had this sweet battle with Ryozo and the Straw Hats, and you get into the second section of the island, and suddenly there are lots of Straw Hats. They're everywhere, and they use those same tactics. And it teaches you right away, like, you better up your game, bro, because guess what? The Straw Hats will absolutely slaughter you if you don't learn how to fight them. And it does that all the way through the game. And it's design wise, it's so good. It's not a 10 out of 10 game because it has problems, but I don't remember having so much fun in a game in a long time.
Yeah, like for this whole console generation, it's that and it's Breath of the Wild. Like nothing else is in the same space for me.
For open world, yeah.
Just for games within that very broad, you know what I mean? That very broad conversation. It's just like it's just those two. Like nothing else is innovated in such a way.
Also, ghost mode or the ghost stance. Like the first time you rip off the ghost stance, fuck me, is that the best moment of
incredible.
You just slaughter
because you've been waiting for it, right? Yeah,
yes.
I was mentioning it on a few shows ago. Like I'd been waiting for it for so long. I'm like, where the hell are all the dismemberments? Why am I not chopping off limbs? What the hell is going on here? And then you fucking get that ghost mode.
and it's connected to the story where it's just like this is the moment where you like fully become this character you've been building to for like hours and hours and like parts of the game, and like so there's like this narrative satisfaction as well as a mechanical one, and it's just like a 1-2 punch and like fuck yeah. So yeah,
I think that's
easy one.
That sounds like it's a lock then.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I did while you were talking, James, was move Last of Us to 4 just to see how that feels, which would give us Ghost, Half-Life, Hades, Last of Us, Final Fantasy.
Feels good, man. Feels real good. In fact, I'd even bump up Final Fantasy. I'd swap Final Fantasy and Last of Us.
Because like maybe I don't know. That's a tough one because like
I'm coming at it from a different perspective than you guys, though. I had never played 7, so it was all fresh to me. I never got any of that. Like re-experiencing these moments that they've recreated, and like you were mentioning, Paul, with the music, how all the music was different but still the same kind of, and like so. It sounds like you all got like a nice nostalgia kick as you were playing through this game. It was new, but it was also nostalgic, it sounds like. And I didn't get that. I just got this like, new game, new fun game I'd never experienced, a story I'd never experienced. I didn't feel like it was pandering at all. I felt like it was just, a team writing a story and keeping it tight and keeping it sensible. And I really like Final Fantasy VII.
So basically, because you don't have the nostalgia for it, you actually rank it higher. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Actually,
I feel like, because I didn't have any ties to it before. I don't know. I'm just taking it as just this like soul thing. Final Fantasy in general, actually, I've never really played before, so. In general, it was kind of this whole new experience to me. And I guess that versus Last of Us was really well made and everything, but it wasn't this like new grandiose experience that I had. So I guess maybe that's what I'm getting at.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to what you're saying about the music in Final Fantasy VII, arguably one of the most beloved soundtracks of any game ever. People, they know the overworld theme and they know One Wing Angel. They know all these things if they've played the game before. But the thing the remake did was remix each one of those songs in so many different ways. Like just about every boss battle in the entire game has a different version of the boss battle theme. It just never repeats. And the sheer amount of content that they have on the musical side in this game is crazy. Yeah. It's a shame that like that amount of content meant that they had to use samples instead of real orchestras. Not the best, But man, when you're in that Genova fight and then the third phase comes around and the old school Genova song drops, man, that's like a throw the controller down and run away screaming because it's so good.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
then on the other hand, Last of Us has so many systems that they've been building toward, Naughty Dog has been building toward for a long time, perfected. Like literally perfected.
Yeah,
The damage, the player damage and the enemy damage was probably my favorite thing from that game. I feel like that was one of those systems that they had been working towards. If you shot somebody in the arm, they had a hole in their arm, and like they had an exit wound on their arm, and it looked nasty.
Yeah.
If you shot somebody in the head, same thing. Like the level of like violence and damage and destruction that you were doing throughout that game, that really felt like a culmination of Uncharted and Last of Us, for that matter. Yeah, it was tough to go back to games after that and not see that sort of stuff. To get a headshot and just see, a red spot on something, or something like that. Yeah, that level of realism was pretty intense.
I said this back when we were originally talking about that game, and I stand by it, is that if you told me that was a PS5 game, I'd believe you. And it's still the truth. Like, I can't believe that they got that thing running as well as they did on a base PS4. Because it still has all those mechanics of, like you're talking about, the exit wounds and just the variety in animations, the way Ellie and Abby flow between animations when you're going around corners or jumping over a desk or hiding behind a bush. Like, all those things, they just work so seamlessly.
Yeah. I'm pretty fine with The Last of Us at 4. I think that's a good place for it. I think Final Fantasy 7 is good at 5. It's an exceptional game. Does great work. Really fun from beginning to end. Yeah, I think Last of Us Part 2 probably has just that little bit of an edge just over it in terms of like what you guys discussed and like how technically proficient it is within the like systems it was designed for. I feel pretty good about this list, if we're being up front.
So we haven't really talked about Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, we can touch
on that. How do we feel about that at number 7?
I think I like it where it is. I think it's good because like it's got one over on Doom Eternal in my mind, because it takes a mechanical and an art step forward in a sense, whereas like Doom Eternal like more or less looks as good as the like it looks a little bit better than the last one, but like kind of within the same playground. And like Miles Morales, although it's a cross-generational game, it looks and feels and plays like pure PS5. You know what I mean? Like, and they managed to take something that like could have just been like DLC and turned it into something fully fleshed out and like really next level compared to its predecessor, while still operating within the same engine. Like, so at the very least, yeah, it goes above Doom Eternal in my mind. Like they're similar entries, but like one edges the other out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue a little bit with you on Doom being more of the same. Doom 2016 was very much a corridor shooter. It was based on shooting a lot of it. Where Eternal is more like Doom 2, honestly, like grabbing keys and more arena focused, open, moving around based on mobility. But very similar.
The other thing with Doom is the support that it's getting. It's like they've like been doing seasons of content for it, and they're still supporting the game now. I think that they're going to continue to do so for a long time with that one.
That's true. Then Spider-Man does tell a very different story from the 2018 game. Like when I started it up, I was pretty worried that it was going to feel like a tangential side story that was just like a throwaway. They put this game together because they needed something for PS5 launch. But that's not the case. It feels very much like its own story, and it feels like the start of a whole franchise for Miles, which is honestly well-deserved and totally overdue. Like, how's there never been a Miles Morales movie, for example? I don't understand. Being that he's arguably a cooler Spider-Man than Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the way they handle
well, there it is.
You know.
That's why there hasn't been. But he's not supposed to be a cooler. Peter's not supposed to be cool. The character of Spider-Man is not supposed to be cool. The man under the mask is not supposed to be cool.
That's fair. But they do deliver that side of the story with this game. Like, Miles is very unsure of himself and questioning his own powers and his own abilities all the way through the game. And the way they tie that into, the story of the different boroughs of New York is really, really well done. I super enjoyed that tale as it was. And I think they did more than enough to the gameplay to make it feel like a different game, with the difference in the number of powers that Miles has, and the, like Peter's gameplay more focused on the technology and using different web shooter power-ups to do combat. But Miles is more about, the Venom powers and...
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Totally different experience. But still has that lethal web swinging that is so much fucking fun.
Yeah, right. I mean, look at it this way. There's probably not any other game that makes me want to get a PS5 right now than Miles. I really want to play that shit. I really like Doom, though. Doom was really good.
Doom is really good. It's tough, man.
It's a tough one.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I think I feel okay about how it is now.
Yeah, because, like, it's Doom Eternal is really good, and that's why it's in the top 10. You know what I mean? Like, they're both excellent games. It's just perhaps one kind of edges out the other, just in terms of like what it did over the course of this year, and like how it, that's a kind of conversation we have to have with a lot of games these days. How did it differentiate itself from its predecessor? How did it separate itself from the fucking entries that came before it? Because it's a very sequel centric medium, and so like the conversation really has to be like, what steps did it take to establish itself from its sort of ancestors.
That is one thing actually that Doom lost in Eternal that I was not super pleased about. One of my favorite things from the original game was when you clear the first level and some scientist starts talking to Doom Guy. It's like telling him about the importance of what he's about to do, and he just smashes the control panel. It gives you this tone of, okay, well, we're not taking this too seriously. Like, we're going to have a serious storyline, but it's overlaid with this ridiculous over the topness. And Eternal's still over the top, but it kind of loses that poking fun at itself aspect.
It did feel very serious at times. Very serious.
Mm-hmm.
Which, maybe that's cool. It's a little weird, but that's cool. Yeah. So yeah, no, that's fair. I feel pretty good with Doom Eternal being number 8. Definitely deserves to be in the top 10. Feels good about the spot that it's at.
Well, let's count it down and see if anything jumps out. Number 10, Astro's Playroom. Number 9, Animal Crossing: New Horizons. Number 8, Doom Eternal. Number 7, Spider-Man: Miles Morales. Number 6, Kentucky Route Zero. Number 5, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Number 4, The Last of Us Part 2. Number 3, Hades. Number 2, Half-Life Alyx. Number 1, Ghost of Tsushima.
Sounds pretty good. The only thing,
I
like,
feel really
did
good about that.
you guys agree with Half-Life and Hades being where they are, or should they be flipped?
I think I'm comfortable with that. Like,
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think, like, arguably I have had a greater amount of fun with Hades than Half-Life. But that's also a product of the medium. A medium in that, you know, you can only really be in there for like an hour or two tops, and then your brain melts.
yeah.
Like, you have to hop out. Whereas Hades, I could stare at that for 16 hours a day, every day for the rest of my life, and probably be relatively happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think Half-Life Alyx is not only has it set a new bar for like what's coming later, but it did so in a way that's like immediately fascinating and compelling and pretty enjoyable. You know what I mean? Like it both it both broke new ground and like sort of like foretold shit that's going to be happening later while still being a pretty fucking awesome experience in the moment.
That's what I wanted it to do. Like,
Yeah,
knowing that
yeah.
eventually another Half-Life game was going to come out, and it was probably going to be a VR game because they wanted to push VR stuff. It did exactly what it needed to do. It proved that, yes, you can have both of these previously separate types of VR game. You know, the sandbox where you throw things around, and the story that just happens to you. No, you can do both those things at once, and you can do it very, very well. So remains to be seen if other developers will actually do that same kind of thing or be capable of doing that same kind of thing. But even if it's just Valve doing another game at some point that's another Half-Life story or whatever in VR, that door is now open is big for the VR industry.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the list, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is too.
That's fair.
Sniffing around the bottom end, didn't quite make it. We had Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Resident Evil 3, and Dreams, which are all also excellent.
Yeah, other honorable mentions that were like got a certain amount of votes but just didn't quite make the discussion. We had the new Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, the new Yakuza, 13 Sentinels: Aegis Rim, and Cyberpunk. Arguably, to even be part of the discussion, you would have to limit it to the PC version, because like when the circumstances are exactly correct and you have like that Titanic ass-kicking rig, it is a really beautiful game. You know, it's really really fucking gorgeous. It really sets the bar for like what you can do with like ray tracing and like complex character models and like animation, but like the pieces have to be exact, and if they're not, it's just
Yeah, it's fucked.
Like,
it's fucked right now.
Counterpoint. I've seen people online who got excited to buy it because it's a buggy fucking mess. And they're like, I want to be able to punch a window and get shot back somehow exactly 400 meters every time.
Yeah.
Within the game measurements. There's a video that somebody posted from the PS4 version where like they were riding around on a bike and like some random thing happened and they were shot straight up into the sky like a couple of kilometers, to the point where there was a loading screen before they reappeared hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet above Night City.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I don't
Fucking
I don't even know
insane.
that if given it had a tolerable amount of bugs, I'm still not convinced it would be in the conversation, because I think it is still it's a good game, not a great
but
game.
it's not top 10. Even under optimal circumstances, it's not really a top 10 game.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So there you go.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's why it's not here, people, if you're wondering.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to know, it's because at its best form, if it ran the way it does on the high level PC settings on every format, on every console or whatever, it probably still would have made it to like number 12, 13, I'm going to say.
I wouldn't have it that high, but maybe.
Yeah. 14 maybe. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like it'd be swimming around the bottom of the list, right?
It'd be sniffing for sure. It'd have a sniff.
Yeah, but not anywhere in sight of the top 10.
Well,
It's
that's
wild,
gonna do
man.
it.
That's fucking wild. Sorry,
Like the Cyberpunk?
it'll do it. But man, it's just fucking crazy that a week ago we were saying, well, or was it 2 weeks ago we were saying, well, we should probably hold off on doing our Game of the Year cast until Cyberpunk comes out, because that's probably going to be, a contender for Game of the Year. And it comes out and it's not even top 14. Optimally, if you were running it optimally, it might not even be top 14. Like, that is just fucking crazy to me. Crazy, man.
Yeah, the thing is,
But
it
I
just
also
tries
feel.
to do.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I also feel very good about our list. I think the top 10. Yeah, I feel very good about it.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, Cyberpunk.
Sorry, what were you
it
saying
tries
there?
to do too many things.
Yeah.
It wants to do everything, and it tries to show you everything at once. But then none of those systems are quite done. None of them are baked far enough for them to be good. And I think if the game had come out and it was in a non-buggy state, people would be a lot more aware of those flaws. Like that the AI is just not great. That the stealth is completely fucked.
We can't even
There's
get
no
to the
reason to pick
gameplay
any of the
problems
perks.
because it runs so badly.
Yeah. But first world problems, right?
Yeah. No shit.
Don't have enough cores. I can't run this cyber game.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's going to do it for Press X, the podcast. This has been our Game of the Year deliberations for COGconnected.com. Make sure that you like, subscribe, follow us all over the place. Hit the notification bell if there is one. Do all that stuff because, we want to entertain you and we'd like to be in front of more eyeballs. And that definitely has a big impact on the algorithms. So, do the things. But that's going to be it for this year. Like, we won't be back in 2020. We're done. We've had enough.
No.
I've had enough. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah.
Tell your friends, though, that you can start to see our faces on the cast.
Yeah, man.
2021 is going to be a big factor.
You're making a big assumption that this is going to work and that when
good point.
Press stop recording, it's going to save video.
Yeah, we might just melt some processor cores when we wrap up for the day. Yeah, you never know.
Who knows? But yeah, if you've seen our faces up until this point, everything went great, and you'll see them in 2021 as well, when we'll be back for season 4 of Press X the podcast.
That's right. Season 4, the face season.
We'll workshop that name. Or something. I don't know. But all right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be safe. Take care of each other. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
I have hit stop recording.
Yeah.